Welcome, thanks for your time.
Anybody need a,
Everybody's got an agenda. I don't think we're waiting on anybody. On the call, just so I know, we got Lindsay on the call today, and Matthew, and Ryan.
Brett Warner's Public.
Awesome. All right, let's get this thing started. First up on the agenda is to look at the minutes from last month's meeting. This is where we review those minutes, and if anyone would like to make a motion to change or approve, that would be welcome.
you added me back in? Yeah, I wasn't there last month, even though I was there last month. You put me back. You put me back.
Yeah. If you sent me something before, I fixed it.
All right, thank you, Chris, first and Phil in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Thank you. All right, next up, it's the time we set aside for public comment, whether it's anyone on the call or in the room that has any public comment. All right. Next up, we're looking at today's agenda. Let's take a quick look at that. And again, if you want to make any changes or approve it as presented, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I move to approve.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. First on Patsy, second on it. Plugging right along, team and staff report. Jamie, take it away.
Yeah, so to start off, Matt Manley is going to give a few updates that we've got. There's just a few kind of bigger things going on at the city that we want to make sure that everybody knows about. Matt, are you able to unmute?
Yes, thank you.
Were you trying to share?
Yep, I'm going to share real quick. Thanks for squeezing me on, and I'll be brief, but wanted to highlight a couple of things. We have a lot going on. Many of you have probably received a request, and some of them very last minute, requests for letters of support for the city's grant application is for the BUILD grant. It's a large federal grant. We applied last year. It was the Above the Mud project. Changes to the format for the grant have required that we change the scope of the project. And so what it is that these are kind of leftover numbers, but component 2 and component 3, it does not include components 1 and 4, which were off-street trail improvements. These are both going to be on-street improvements that we're going after this year. And so that would be on South Main Street, the Festival Street, going up to Allen from the Yakusta Trail. This would be a transformative reconfiguration of the street to make it more of a park-like setting that does accommodate vehicles, but is heavily oriented towards pedestrians and easily converts to public space for different events. And then on 7th Avenue from Oklawaha Greenway intersection to the railroad tracks, we would have a streetscape improvement both for safety for pedestrian and cyclists, and then aesthetics. And in both cases, these are economic development tools. And that's very much the angle that we're taking with our application. Our letters of support from last year, we had 38, but we only had one business. And with us really thinking, with a more of an economic development focus this year, we wanted to reflect that in the support that we're showing. And even though we're losing some of the components, we wanted to at least maintain the same number of letters. And with everything going on in the city, I can't say that it's been the highest priority, but we are making a final push here. We'd love to get letters of support by Friday. We have a template letter. We're happy to send it out. I can have Jamie blast it out. And so if you want to put it on your letterhead and send it back to us, that would be wonderful. Any questions on that?
Have any notice has been set to businesses thus far?
as far
We
as
have
for
reached
letters.
out.
I haven't received it.
No, we sent out
good.
some of them, but then they just, I guess they decided they wanted to do a last push to get some more letters, and so I'll send out that template letter.
Yeah, to all of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it out.
Fantastic.
So Matt, do you have any other like more specific details about the improvements themselves, what that might look like?
Well, so the design itself would come, once the funding's in place, there would be a design process where there would be public input, there would be, the details. So it hasn't been engineered, it hasn't been designed, it's conceptual at this point. There is a rendering that we have that shows basically like a enhanced the cycle track that's on South Main Street. But say in lieu of on-street parking, you have a planting strip with street trees. You would have different materials for pedestrian areas, such as pavers and things like that, versus the vehicular area. And so just really a high quality built environment across those few blocks. And so rather than just your typical asphalt and concrete, there would be more plantings, more open space, and less space devoted to vehicles.
Right, so right now it's about going after this specific grant. Is there a specific dollar amount on this grant, or how does that work?
Yeah, we're pushing, I think it's close to 19 million. And there are some matching dollars. So like we're repaving 7th Avenue. So that's a match that we're providing. There's some other smaller components that we're providing to match. But a match is not necessarily required because at least 50% of the cost of the grant is taking place in an area of persistent poverty. And given that, then the grant does not require a match. If more than 50% of the cost of the project is outside of one of those areas, then you do have to provide a match. So that was part of the way that we've compiled the project so that we're specifically targeting those numbers in those areas. And it's actually the South Main Street area is the one that qualifies, and the 7th Avenue area does not. And they changed how they define and quantify these areas of consistent poverty, or persistent poverty.
So it's 19 million for both corridors.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So Jamie, if you could send that out, I mean, obviously I haven't seen that letter either, and I would be more than happy. I'm sure all of us would be more than happy.
Yeah,
Or stamp on that one. So
if not,
Yeah.
after this meeting, I'll send out first thing tomorrow morning.
And I'll find I think we have an information page on our website similar to the next item I'm going to talk about. I'll make sure we have links to that may be able to answer some more of your questions about some of your specifics. So appreciate that support. Any other questions on that?
Nope.
What's Matt's job? Is he engineering or what?
Matt's with a planner, the planning department.
Okay.
actually, yeah, real quick, Matt, on that one, before we go forward into the go bond, as far as let's say we get the grant. As far as the plan and design process, who would that go through?
It's already done, probably.
So we would get the money. It would go through a bid process. We would start, obviously we've got a concept in place, but we would do some outreach like we've done for some other projects, 7th Avenue Streetscape, and even some other ones in that general area, where we try to communicate, early in the process with our community members. But then we would hire an engineering firm and have that designed and then constructed.
Right. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Shifting over to the Go Bond. Hopefully, folks have heard about this. This is going to be on the ballot in a few weeks, March 3rd. This is a referendum for the city to open a Go Bond, a general obligation bond, and the funds from that bond would be used to would be transportation oriented. And so there's some really great resources on the city's website. There's a story map, which walks through the whole process, very informative, answers a lot of these, what is a Go Bond? How is it going to be used? What's it going to cost us? All those types of things. And so definitely encourage everyone to check this out, but it's for $10 million, which is not a huge sum. And then of course the general allotment that the city is annually putting towards things like repaving is going to be combined with that, and it's going to go into 3 different buckets, so to speak. The first one would be for repaving and resurfacing, and we're really trying to target the low scoring areas of the city, segments of the street highlighted here in yellow, red, and orange. And that 37% of city maintained streets are rated fair or below. So we're trying to bring that score up closer to the goal with this would be, with the funding that we've asked for, the way we've got it proposed, it would bring, after 5 years, the city's score would be brought up to a 79. And I want to say it's somewhere around a 64 right now. But if we do nothing, or if we continue to do the same as we're doing now, our score will go down. And so part of that is the 7th Avenue project took a lot of the city's resurfacing funds, the streetscape project. And so, and it's expensive to maintain streets. And so this will get ahead of, this actually result in cost savings down the line because of the rate of deterioration increases. And so if we can get out in front of some of these, fair scores, for instance, we'll save the city over the long haul. There's a whole deep dive on PCI, Pavement Condition Index, that you can read up on and learn more about. The second bucket is related to ADA compliance, and finding that there's a widespread, there's an ADA transition plan done, which identified all of the deficiencies throughout the city. And so to try to start to address those, 2.45 million of the 10 million would go to replace 25% of the non-compliant curb ramps. And so we would target high traffic areas and key intersections for those improvements. And then the next bucket, 3.75 million, would go towards bicycle and pedestrian safety improvements and improvements in the general network of the city. And so there's some sample projects here: South Grove Street sidewalks. That one in particular would actually help us. The funding, if approved, would allow us to leverage an additional $2.8 million from federal funds that we've been on. I mean, we otherwise would not necessarily have a way to unlock those funds. They've been granted to us, but unless we can come up with our 20% match, we can't get the other 80%. And so this general obligation bond would help us to do that. There's another project similar to that, but we're not 100% sure we'll be able to tackle it in the timeline, given that there's a 5-year constraint to this. And so there may be other opportunities to leverage other funding sources to maximize the increase. But some of that's yet to be determined. We'll have to we're trying to be as conservative as possible with what we're conveying to the public at this point. But there are some other projects that we've identified. Improvements, around the Acoustic Trail is a big one. particular sidewalk gaps, safety around our schools, a sidewalk gap on King Street, and hopefully it's dedicated bicycle facilities, bike lanes, shared lanes on Fifth Avenue, all the way from the Acoustic Trail to 7th Avenue to Maple Street. So those are some of the top projects, and we're going to have more information available here with some photos and some maps and a description of each of those projects. And so right now we're really trying to get the word out, make sure people are aware of this, make sure that people understand that the the need is there. It is unlikely to cost the taxpayer anything. That's the general belief based on our budget and finance department, and the rate that the city is likely to pay, the potential generation of additional tax revenue from these types of investments. And when you put all those numbers together, there is there's kind of a worst case scenario, and then which is I think $20 on every $100,000 in property value annually, and then there's the little more realistic view, which would be that it'd most likely be a wash and not result in any increase in tax revenue. So by state law, you'll see the sample ballot, which I don't think I have a link to here yet, but there's a sample ballot out there, and there's required, it's like a legally approved statement about the general obligation bond. You'll see it on the ballot, and it requires certain statements about potential increases in taxes to offset the loan that the city is applying for. And so you'll see some of that language. So happy to answer any more questions about that if needed, but mainly want to take this opportunity to get the word out. You guys are leaders in the city as a strategy for just word of mouth. I really wanted to come here and let you guys know, because you'll talk to your neighbors and your customers and your friends and family that are in the city. And that's how we'll get the word spread, so that when people see this on the ballot, they will heard of it before and know the good that can come from it. And from my personal standpoint, the opportunities to invest in bicycle and pedestrian safety in the in light of what the Acoustic Trail has done, in light of what the opportunities there are between having the Acoustic Trail, the Ocklawaha Trail, and potentially one day the Saluda Grade Trail, and people being able to safely connect from their neighborhoods to those places and to work and to home and everywhere that they want to go safely is really valuable. And so we've got to start investing in those connections and making the streets safer. So.
Matthew, I got a question.
Yes.
You had mentioned that the streetscape on 7th Avenue took a lot of money, and wasn't that separately funded, allocated money for 7th Avenue, not taken away from paving and stuff that was just normal stuff going that the city was doing?
It was initially, and then when the costs increased so much because of with COVID delaying it, a couple of years, when the costs ballooned, they dedicated the street paving money for that year to be a part of that 7th Avenue budget. So it was just because of the cost went over what the initial.
So that was an afterthought then on that, because for the whole time,
Yeah.
we were under the impression, I was under the impression that it was already budgeted through a different bucket of money. Now I find out that they took it from the street. The other thing, Matthew, is all the ADA sidewalks and stuff that you talk about with paving. I mean, the city's known for a long time this was coming down the line and they had to do that. So they elected not to do those ADA connections and things like that. And now we've got them stacked up to where you're looking at trying to borrow $10 million And it looks to me like that's one thing, but when you start talking about tax increases that you have to put in there that you really don't need, you might as well just tell us you're gonna raise the taxes to pay for that. That's that stuff that, you know, I just don't think is right when you start talking about things.
I think he said it will most likely won't be affecting taxes, but the worst case if it did would be 20 per 100,000.
Which is what people have to vote on, right?
They vote on the ability to go get the money, yeah.
We're,
The city residents too, so.
we're fairly certain that we won't have to increase taxes, but we have to include a possibility on there to be transparent. Because if we don't and something happens and we end up having to increase taxes because of that result, we couldn't do it because we
Mhm.
legally didn't give you all of the information when you voted
Right.
for it.
Full disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just to Chris, your point about the ADA, I mean, a lot of it is federal requirements that have changed over time, and so things were built at whatever time they were built. Two standard, and now those standards have changed and increased. And there's also PROAG, which is a federally mandated new requirement that unfunded. It comes with no funds, but it says anytime you do an improvement to a street segment, you have to then bring it up to ADA compliance. And so that has been, kind of a shock to the system for NCDOT, for cities all across North Carolina, all across the country that have had to respond to that. And so since we are doing a significant amount of repaving as a strategy for this bond, it will come with those requirements. And so we are targeting as a way to be compliant with PROAG is targeting the curb ramps. And so, yeah, like a lot of these sidewalks, when they were built, there was no requirement for curb ramps. And then a lot of them that do have curb ramps don't meet the current standard for curb ramps. So I hear the frustration, but it's not necessarily the city's fault. It's best I can explain it.
Matt, my question would be, going back to your two graphics, showed highlighted the paving requirements, the ADA requirements. You had 8 point something for paving, 3 point something for ADA. Based on the 30,000 foot view of those two graphics and the amount of work that has to be done, that's a drop in the bucket. What percentage of that work do you plan accomplishing with that $10 million?
So the total amount shown here, I think I understand the question. 8.3, that's a combination of the funds that would come from the bond plus what the city is already putting into resurfacing annually. So that's a combined number. We are targeting the lowest scoring street segments. And as part of this pavement condition index that was done, a path forward, and you can do the formula to say, okay, well, if we bring all these up to a very good score, then that brings our total street network score up to X. And we can spend more or spend less, and then figure out if we're going to have, if we want to have a score of 100 in our entire street network, then that will definitely result in a tax increase. So being, fiscally responsible and trying to be good stewards of taxpayers' dollars, it was, determined by City Council to target a score of 79, so just under an 80, as a reasonable score that brings us up into, a good rating without, overextending in a way that would, be a burden to taxpayers.
Thank you.
Matthew, I've got a question about the 7th Avenue repaying that money that was moved. That was a one-time thing, was it not?
Correct.
Yeah, just shifted the money that was designated for that year, right?
Correct.
Is that right, Matt?
You didn't mention Locust Street I know that there's different ways we're trying to figure out what was the term you used? There's no sidewalk on part of Locust Street. Was that one that was identified too? Not about a block off of 7th on the right side.
On the
That's
right-
just one example. On Locust, where,
So the intersection of Locust and Seventh, that, going from Seventh down Locust.
well, there is
the
sidewalks.
would be rough.
Yeah, and there's a section where there's no real sidewalk. There's no curb in front of,
Pedestrian improvements on Locust.
yeah, they're in front of the gallery, our place gallery, across from the bicycle. You didn't mention it.
Yeah, no, I can look at that. I mean, it may be in our,
Yes,
what's
that's files.
guided a number of these projects, and these are just examples of projects. You see the and more. We're hopeful to be able to identify, ways that we can fill sidewalk gaps and complete entire, sections
gaps.
of the network, and that is really being guided by our pedestrian plan, the Walk Hendo pedestrian plan. And so we've looked at all the top 10 projects for from that plan to guide where we may spend some of these funds. Similarly, we looked at our bicycle plan. We're also engaging in a new bike plan, which I'll mention really quickly. Oliver from MAST was appointed by City Council to represent kind of the downtown downtown businesses. And so he'll be serving on the steering committee for the new bicycle master plan that we're developing. But those plans are what we use to then identify projects and prioritize projects. And so there's a number of variables that go into scoring the various projects and then ranking them. And so, this is a way for us to actually get into completing some of those projects in a timely fashion so that we can move on down that list. And I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 10 years ago, there was a sidewalk bond that the city issued, and that was what provided us with sidewalks on Haywood Road, on North Main Street. So some really key areas where we desperately needed sidewalks that created safe connections for people. And so we were able to do that by utilizing bond funds. And so similarly, now this bond is being spread out a little thinner, but it is going to help us try and achieve some of these things that we've identified and prioritized as needs.
Well, Matt and Jamie, correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I'm under the belief that aside from this, you're talking about the Locust corridor, that still very much has been planned because it was initially planned as part of the sort of that streetscape that got pushed off.
Yeah.
So that plan is still on the books. So that would be separate from this. I mean, the idea is we're still ultimately going to do that portion of the 7th Avenue streetscape, which is MSD from pretty much 7th to
Either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So it would be separate from this project. That project is still on the
I
books.
just heard
The plans are
mentioned,
done
yeah,
For that.
I just heard Maple
ran out of
mentioned
money.
and Locust is right there too.
Right, we just ran out of money, but
Wanna
as
make
far as
sure.
that portion of the MSD for the initial streetscape project, that's still very much been planned and approved. I think it was just a matter of finding some more.
Was it all the way down Locust or was it just
It was to Bearcat, I think.
I think so.
to where?
To the MSD ends at Bearcat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
With this grant, Matthew,
It's like right in front of the brewery,
the
or where you would, yeah.
money you're
Streets
getting
out there.
for paving,
Sorry.
Yeah.
because it's getting the grade of the roads up to a 79. Why would the money not be used mainly all for just the roads to get them up to the grade that you're trying to get to?
ADA compliance, bike pedestrian, that's a lot of it.
But that has to go on the roads they're paving. In the future, all of that has to get done, so That's what I'm saying, they.
Imagine a lot of process.
I think, and Matt might be able to correct me, but I think that if we're doing the roads, we have to do the ADA as a part of it. I think that's the new standard.
Wasn't he splitting it to have other brake lanes and wasn't there other projects out of that money besides the paving? And the ADA that went along with the grant?
About three
Yes.
tranches.
Infrastructure, ADA and.
But if this is part of the application, you could probably ask that
Well, this one's not the grant. This is the,
go on.
yeah.
But there's still gonna be a public forum for that. Wouldn't that be a place if you wanted to suggest something like that? Like maybe let's lean it more this way or that way? Or is this locked?
I'm not
This is just get the 10 million.
Yeah, so it's city council's decision on how to allocate the funding, and this is, through a process that's been, weighted and weighing a range of priorities and needs, right? So why did we not spend all the money on resurfacing? Well, there's a ton of ADA deficiencies. For one, we had just done our ADA transition plan, which identified, just curb ramps, 185 deficient curb ramps. Vertical height displacements are another one. They make up 58% of all the defects found. And so those are things like poles in the way, vegetation in the way, things of that nature. So there are deficiencies all across the city
Trash cans.
that need to be addressed. And so those are needs. You have, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the statistic, but the data is somewhat dated now, but we've had the #1 pedestrian serious injury and fatality rate in the state based on per capita. So we have a horrible pedestrian safety statistics, and our bicycle statistics are not great either. So we have a lot of needs when it comes to transportation, and we're trying to do it in a way that we can get a lot done. We can leverage other funding, and we can do it all without placing a burden on taxpayers. And so that's the beauty, I believe, of a really thoughtful and curated approach to this that our administration's come up with and that city council supported. So I encourage everybody to get out and vote for that coming up in a couple of weeks. If you have other questions, I encourage you to look at the website and then reach out to staff. I don't want to take ton of y'all's more time today. I do have one other item I want to talk to y'all about, just to plant a seed. Many of y'all remember when we were going through the comprehensive plan adoption, there was the chapter 5, which was the downtown master plan, which included a set of design standards. And those design standards were really to set us up to be able to adopt those so that they weren't just a guide in our comprehensive plan or a suggestion, they were law. And so we are making space for that. We've made that a item in our work plan to take those design standards and codify them. And so that would allow the area that's, was the study area from the comprehensive plan, we would have an overlay. This is the idea. And within that overlay, you would have various architectural and, private standards for development that we currently just do not have. The only thing that dictates any sort of design right now is the Main Street local historic district design standards. CMU zoning, which is around the outside of Main Street, has some, but not, pretty low bar in terms of design standards. And so we'd be looking to strengthen those, really just to continue the type of urban form that was traditionally found in Hendersonville. As we get new development, we want to maintain that traditional form that creates places that are walkable, that are attractive, that are safe in terms of being pedestrian friendly, and continue the great city that we have. So we're looking to start working on that. We have a couple of, steps that we have to go through. But I do want to highlight that we would be bringing that back to your, to your committee, going through the Downtown Advisory Board's committee process and bringing it back for the Downtown Advisory Board to look at, and looking to do some outreach with business owners, broader public, but some targeted outreach and some broad outreach as we move through the process. So first step, we're meeting with our legal department. One of the things that makes this tricky is there were changes to state law that between when the comp plan was adopted and we all met and talked about this, and now back in December of 2024, there was a major change that broadly defined what a downzoning is and reduced the city's authority to go out and create these types of districts and apply them broadly. So we've got to work on that, make sure that we've got good legal standing, and then once we've got that, we'll move through the process and start really transferring it from a comprehensive plan style of written document to a ordinance style of written form, and then we'll explain that to the public and describe the outcomes if you were to develop under those design standards. We'll have the images and illustrative renderings that we have from the comprehensive plan, and we may come up with some additional ones if needed to help people understand those and seek support for that. And I think that's something that this board will be very interested in. So wanted to plant that seed and just let you know that was coming, that we were, we hadn't forgotten about that project. We certainly is delayed, but there has been some new interest and activity in terms of new development. And, we're hearing interest in wanting to make sure the outcomes of new development are in line with the city's vision for growth. So any questions on that? There'll be a lot more opportunities for weighing in on that. So stay tuned.
Thanks.
Well, Matt, it's a lot of information. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
Okay. So the next thing I have is, so this is lots of different money things today. Kind of shift into the Friends of Downtown budget. So as y'all hopefully know, the Friends is our nonprofit side of things, and that's where we run our events through, and that's where we have the money to then be able to do things like side grants and public art and all kinds of stuff like that. And so I've put together just some information on how our financials are looking like for the Friends, and they're good. The beauty of the Friends is, a lot of places that have their downtown programs, they have to pay their staff out of their nonprofit, and we don't have to do that. So that means that the money that we make for the events can go towards actual projects and things that are helpful for downtown. So I've just put it together as kind of a summary. The Friends as a nonprofit runs on a January through December fiscal year, instead of like the city's or government's July to June fiscal year. This year, so in 2026, January through December 2026, we received, we've been working with the TDA to just have a set grant fund, because we were applying for events and more, like all these different grants, and they were trying to just silo them into larger categories. And so it seems like we'll be getting just a lump sum from the TDA every year that will go to support Garden Jubilee, Rhythm and Brews, our printed map, our bear brochure, holiday events. But with those events also producing an income, that means that we've got just extra funds that we're able to do. For this year, we had some, since this was the first year we've done it, it took them a while to be able to get the check to us. And so the check got deposited in January, and we're also expecting to get another one in the county's fiscal year. So we're probably going to get 2 years worth in this fiscal year, where some of the monies would have gone towards last year. So anyway, we're going to have probably over $100,000 from the TDA coming in this year, when normally it'd be about 55,000. One thing that they had included was to have $10,000 that are dedicated to arts events. And that's something that I'm working with the Arts Council on, because that was the TDA wanting to support the events that they had transitioned over to the Arts Council, but have a smoother transition for that. And so I feel like for this year, with that dedicated funds to go towards Art on Main, but then in the future years, they also said we can apply for more to go towards other type of events, just apply for what we need, basically. So I think in the future, if we wanted to apply for more, we'd be able to. They base the amount that they're giving us on just what we've applied for in the past. We also have another new event, the Loft Tour in March, that we're working with the Historic Preservation Commission on. And that event's going to go through the Friends of Downtown nonprofit, and those monies will be able to go towards preservation type projects, so facade grants, basically. We're estimating the tickets are going to be $35 with the fees absorbed. And so it'll be about $33 a ticket. We're estimating, or we're capping it at 500 in attendance. So we're estimating at 300 to 500. So I have to estimate at $10,000, which is about 300 tickets. And I thought that seemed like a lot. But then the end tour had about 200 people just for the end tour every year. And so that's during the holidays. So seems like actually not too unattainable. So with all of that on our financial position with your friends, at the end of 2025 in the bank, we had about $111,000. And we've got, with the funds that we're getting from TDA and then what the funds we typically generate from the events, I think we'll end the year before our other expenses, just basically operationally, we'll end the year with over $220,000. And so that's where I just wanted to walk through the things that we've got planned and then talk about what we want to kind of set as our kind of parameters to start with for the year. First of all, I want to take about $50,000 and we don't touch it. Either it goes into a savings or just we know that we keep that money there. So that way, if something happens, we've got that for startup costs for events, anything like that. It's kind of like that rainy day fund. We also have committed that will come out of this fiscal year, the funds to install the lift in this office space. So then we'll be able to use it for the incubator space. We've also, with our new event barricades, I haven't heard recently, but we've planned on committing to, there needs to be some additional components for it. Those are for the event safety, and those are ones that our events use. And so we're committed to $5,000 for that. The past several years, we've done funds dedicated towards the summer event intern, which has been a huge help for us in the summertime, especially for things like the farmers market. That allows us to have some extra staff time to do everything else when there's some of the tasks for the farmers market are pretty easy for an intern to do. I have that about the arts events. And then we have one facade grant that was for the 344 North Main that's already been approved, but they haven't requested their reimbursement yet. So with those that are already guaranteed and with the reserve funds, we'd still have about a little over $100,000 that can go towards what I have called here special projects. And so what I've proposed is having that dedicated of $30,000 towards facade grants, $5,000 towards pivot grants, which, one thing that the TDA had also asked was for us to pay for the chalk for Chalk It Up. I was like, I think we'd figure out if she needed us to pay for Chalk It Up for $500 a year. I think we can make that work. I put $2,000 towards the Seventh Avenue promotional events, like we talked about last month of, expanding on the cookie stroll and things like that. And then, we had gotten a request from, Art League about, helping to sponsor the banner program that's downtown.
Which is Main Street, Seventh Avenue, Locust, and side avenues off of Main Street.
And so in total for that, $5,000. And then I went ahead and put $10,000 towards public art projects. Even though we may not necessarily know what that is yet, we've at least got some money set aside for it.
The Artscape banner is part of a public art project, and y'all know they're sponsored by corporations or this, what art we can get as a grant from the TDA money that's now with Friends of Town and business sponsors, like for instance, Mass General Store is sponsored. And so,
I mean, it's 6 1/2 dozen. It could be,
okay.
It's the same money coming out one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then that's still with having that kind of as our general kind of parameters, we still would more than likely have, like if we go through all the facade grants, we still more than likely would have money that could go towards them if we decided to. Because then after that, still with $50,000 in reserve, I think we'll still have about $60-some thousand still in the bank at the end of the year. So really, in reality, about $113,000 in the bank at the end of the year. Then circle back into next year, we'll, we won't have $100,000 for the TDA, but we'll still have the extra money to be able to supplement on that. And then I won't really go through it in detail, but on the next page, that is just kind of a summary of where we ended up the year. Last year preliminary, the accountants are still making sure make any kind of adjustments. It is in the negative because we didn't have the $55,000 from the chamber or the TDA that went in that year. So this is a cash basis. And then the last page in that group is basically the same details that I had already outlined in the bullet points above, just in a budget format, also including into the 2027 year. We always, in the budget, it does tend to show negative, but it tends to not end that way. And that's largely because Rhythm and Brews, we plan for not making a lot, and then if everything goes well, it turns out fine. But that's just kind of how that all shakes out. So just wanted to outline that. So then that way we at least, like when we have things come up, we can say, well, where are we with the budget on those particular projects? So any thoughts or questions or anything?
Let's start work on here, start generating revenue. Where does that go?
That'll be with the Friends. That'll be in here. So we'll have a line item for that. It's just been until we can get that ADA.
The arts events you mentioned, and obviously, we had a kind of fundraising event for the Arts Council recently, and the individual mentioned that once they took over Music on Main, they were hit, and I think that's what you alluded to. Kind of the TDA wanting to throw them a bone to help with some of the stuff. Could some of this be allocated for Music on Main as well? I know that's kind of weird, competing Rhythm and Blues.
Yeah, it can. And one thing that we've got to figure out with Music on Main itself is fine. The car shows that are combined with it has been problematic. And so, but they're separate things. So I think it could go towards either. We could definitely talk more about it. I do feel like Art on Main probably fits better with like mission focus on what we'd want, and anything that they got would be able to help them to do the other stuff, kind of like the money we get from.
I think Arts Council took over Music on Main as well from the TDA.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
But I mean, that would be under Arts Council, you know, they don't just do visual arts, they do performing arts, and so it could be, but used in that regard, but future to be determined, I guess, future use.
Yeah, I guess for them, it's also kind of that 6.5 dozen. If it's, we probably would want to say it's for a specific thing, but then if it helps them to be able to do something else, and what we'd be able to do also for in the future years, if we wanted to apply for additional funds for the TDA to support more things, then I think we'd be able to do that.
I like seeing a plan for saving and investing. I think that's smart. And I think that the city, whenever there's a lot of excess, acquiring property and uplifting it the way that we've done here is it's been a great, it's a good track record. I think it's a good direction for the city. A lot of benefits come from it. So I think that's a goal for that kind of excess and investment. But I think that's a good idea.
Just have that extra if there's anything that comes up and we have a chance to do something, we've got the funds to be able to pay towards it.
So good set aside, yeah.
Jamie, right now we have the $6,000 facade grant from last year that hasn't been requested yet, but it's already committed. What's the facade grant balance? Is there a specific balance right now?
No.
Until this happens?
No, there's one at 627 7th Avenue that we're still working with them on. That will probably be around $4,000, but I don't know for sure. But otherwise, I just wanted to have that money there, just so that way we aren't always just questioning if we've got the money available for it.
It's interest, but no applications yet this year.
Yeah, just the one on.
You say Lasher, is that the name of the business or that's the owner of the business? What is 344 North Main?
That's where Jane Asher was. We already approved that one.
They getting closer to have that building done, I guess, hopefully.
Well, the grant was for just the windows. So they've done that, but they haven't submitted anything for it. Probably it'd be good to have like a motion.
What's that?
It'd probably be good if we're
On this?
with it to have a motion.
All right. So we're looking for a motion that would be to approve the downtown Friends of Downtown 2026 budget as presented. Thank you, John.
Second.
Second from Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yep.
Thank you. Motion carried. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. The last main thing that I have, and it's not, we've been working on the public art plan, and I have been working on the edits from everyone and working through it. And then January was
Ice storms and snow.
January was a tough month of a lot of things. And so it's
Oh, quit your complaining.
Stay home and relax. Look at it that way.
yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I can take some time off, and I did. And then now I'm like, oh no, I've got something I gotta do. So what I've got here is just, this isn't the public art plan, but this is kind of the start of when we do the presentation for council for it. And so I just wanted to get that in front of everybody of just some of the highlights for it. Because I know when we start presenting it about, people aren't gonna read all of it. So just have the high points for it. I don't really feel like I need to go through the details with it currently, but I've got it for people to just take a look and think about, and particularly towards the end, we've got implementation projects of a couple policies that we need to do, and then actual projects that tie into that budget conversation. And then next steps of what we've got for it is, me complete the edits and the plan document. And then review the plan with city departments. And then that would be our taken to city council. And of course, we'll be talking about that well before it goes to council. And then
Just to interrupt, we're not gonna do any more on this part under community character, one more last look, because we canceled the meeting because of all the ice this week, or last week, so.
yeah, I think what we'll be able to start doing while it's being reviewed internally is start working on that, like the mural program and the sculpture program. So then that way the committee can get into working on the ins and the outs while we're getting the reviews going through the different channels of the city, because that's always just dependent on with like the legal and the different departments on when they have the ability to do it. Because I know that there's going to be more conversations, particularly on like the committee makeup and everything. And I know y'all brought up about that.
Diana and I've already met with Friends of Acoustic Trail.
That's why I included that on there.
Yeah, because they're real excited about
Mhm.
what the city does for public art pieces. And they actually have a couple of public art pieces in waiting
Mhm.
that I thought, I suggested that if it ended up, because they have to go through county and private and a lot more things than we already have spaces in the city. I haven't seen the pieces, but if they need a resting spot and advisory boards thinks they're okay for a year, they might take up one of the spots.
I think that'd be a great way just to get the space
Used, yeah.
used and test it out and everything. So that's another thing, like Matt, for the design overlay, planting the seed on that. I was hoping to have the more complete plan today, but just didn't quite work out.
So
Then
you're going to present this to city council to adopt this policy and to already start appointing the public art advisory committee?
I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna have to get some guidance from the bosses on how we want to approach it.
I talked to our city manager and at that meeting we had, which was fabulously fun, the breakfast meeting. And he said, we all need to get a committee together to work on public art. And I'm thinking, doesn't he know we've been doing that?
Should, he asked me when it was coming, and I said, it's coming.
I thought, maybe I misunderstood him because I thought,
Yeah, he should know that we're in progress on it, because I know I've talked to him about it several times. Then the last thing that I've got just as kind of a roundup on, just kind of what we've had going on is just kind of a general report. Reminder that we do have Business Morning Update every second Wednesday. I brought that up last time. That's just a once a month thing with the downtown chamber, small business center to, and I think tomorrow they're also talking about the Go Blind. So if you want to hear about that another time. Again, the North Carolina Main Street Conference in New Bern, Cheryl and Jenny are both interested in going. If anyone else would like to go, New Bern is a haul to get there, but it'll be fun. We had, like Patsy just mentioned, we had the business breakfast. We had to reschedule it because of the icy roads. So we still had a really good turnout, even though it snowed that morning, but no one knew it was coming. And then we also, Public Works, as you all know, for 2 weekends in a row had been heavy on the snow and ice removal. And then this past weekend, we had our Mardi Gras parade. And Dakota's not here today to bask in his glory of it. But it was fun and we had a good, it was cold, it was windy, but we had a pretty good turnout. We had people there who were ready to watch it on the sidewalk, who seemed to be specifically there for it. And I just wanted to share this, I'm not gonna show the actual video, but Ryan Southson helped to make a video about the event. And we shared it on a few days before the parade and had over 100,000 eyes on it. So that was pretty cool. Got some new followers on our social media and that really kind of, I think, helped you. And the goal of the Mardi Gras stuff is to have something to promote during February when there's not anything going on. So I think it planted a good seed for that for future years. And we had a lot of people who came up to us asking about how to be involved next year.
I just have one comment that, because you asked, and a lot of people like the mini batch and the Art League and other places, did things to promote Mardi Gras. And obviously the weather contributed to not getting as many people away from the actual little parade.
Mhm.
But it must have been an online note, all the businesses that were doing things that might be on Main Street or might not, it would have been helpful if they were in bold or something. So people in the little paragraphs that you wrote about, go to mini batch for,
Oh, okay.
so just the
Yeah.
names of the businesses, so
Mhm.
people know.
Yeah.
'Cause it was just all the same. I don't think people would have seen it.
And we'd, when we put about it on social media and stuff, we tagged everybody, and I think that kind of, yeah. It's first time.
Yeah.
I think it was fun. It was something.
It wasn't nicer weather.
Yes.
I'm sure it would have been even better.
It-
Lots of Mardi Gras bees for next year, though.
Yeah.
Maybe do like a little map for next year.
Yeah.
Route and then businesses that.
Mhm. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, because, yeah, that would be good. And Homemade Pasta Noodle did some kind of dinner or something,
Yeah, and I haven't heard how anything had gone for anybody.
you know.
Joe said he had 500 pounds of crawfish coming.
Oh, yeah, did he? Who went there to go? Anyone here?
I went to the brewery after. It was,
Yeah, he had it shipped up, yeah.
that's all I
All
got.
right, well, thank you, Jamie, for those updates. In the interest of time here, folks, we got a couple things we can kind of go through: unfinished business or new business. Does anyone have anything on those two segments of our agenda today? All right, if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
What's informal discussion? Do we wait till after we adjourn? You sure you have that in the right?
You know, okay, is there anything on the info you guys just wanna?
It's on the agenda.
Let's talk about halftime show, let's do it.
Percentage of people invited that came to the breakfast, even despite the weather.
I think, so it was pretty much all of them. There were maybe, I did have several people who emailed me that couldn't come after I rescheduled it.
Is there
But, and then I had maybe 3 or 4 who said they couldn't come because of the weather. So it was pretty good. And that was something that we'll need to talk about in Economic Vitality Committee is people said that they wanted to have it twice a year, which in the middle of summer, we'll have to figure out. I was thinking maybe like August might be a better time when it kind of slows down some. And then that kind of is a good reminder for holiday season.
Enthusiasm was encouraging.
Yeah,
It wasn't just a. Okay.
There's participation.
yeah, and some new,
Glad I got up early this morning.
yeah. Yeah, and some new people came and,
Yeah, it was, I think it was a good.
you should ask if Bill was happy. Yeah, I had a couple people ask about how they could get involved on a committee or the board, and so I've just added them to our list of things coming up. So it was pretty encouraging. And then one other thing, and I've got some flyers back in the back. I have our annual report, and then loft tour. We've got some flyers for that. That we'll start promoting here pretty soon.
I just want to say one thing that I guess this is just formal, but I think Jamie is doing a great job at what she does. I don't get around to a lot of these events much, but it seems like I see her at really weird times of the day and small things when you would think a public employee would be working, and she's always cleaning up, moving, or getting something set up on all these events we talk about, so.
She's paid the big bucks.
Well, yeah, so now Phil's happy and Chris is happy with city staff.
Everybody else happy?
You see what she does, some of the others, I also see what they do. There you go.
Well, I appreciate that. And yeah, Terry and Dakota Terry's taking a well-deserved vacation, and Dakota was just out today, but if you,
Out of this country or where?
yeah, she's on a cruise 2 weeks. So
Oh,
don't,
and that's
don't
another
tell her.
thing, that as soon as you let us know when those bears come in.
yeah, we've got
they're
instructions.
delayed and
Yeah.
They need to get,
Yeah, and that's, if anyone, has any leads on any local fiberglass fabricators that would like to take on a job of doing our bears in future years, because our fiberglass bears, if you didn't know, are made in
Michigan.
Michigan or Wisconsin.
Really?
And I think they've just been that for forever. And
And paying shipping and everything else, it adds
a
up.
lot easier if we had one that we could just drive to if we needed to. So,
Get Blue Ridge Community College started fiberglass.
27 every year.
yeah, it's a good, I mean, if someone does fiberglass and it'd be, you know, a good set gig, I had reached out to.
How about a request for performance? Send it out there, see if we.
Yeah.
There certainly has to be somebody closer than that.
Yeah.
Does it have to be fiberglass?
Yeah,
Yes.
For
Yeah.
painting and,
Anything else?
How many bears normally is it?
20.
20.
Yeah.
and they're lightweight.
I sent something out to Mountain Bizworks because they do like the outdoor business community. I was like, maybe there's somebody that does like boats or something close by. So I had sent them something of like, if there's someone who
Ooh, maybe a,
capacity for it that would want to take on something new, because also if I were going into a business, that'd be one to go into, because we get calls 10 times a year asking about where we get the bears. And so we could there'd be lots of referrals. If anyone wants to.
there's places on the coast that design boats, fiberglass boats.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, just throwing that out there for the next couple of years.
Bears.
boats and bears.
I mean, we have
And probably beer while they're doing it.
we have a local business in Fletcher that does kayaks.
Hmm.
They manufacture kayaks at their facility in Fletcher.
That's, we should look at.
They use a lot of fiberglass and also a lot of recycled content as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just a lead, if anyone knows of anybody, it could be a good avenue of business if anyone wanted to take that on.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Remind me again, what's the split on the bear?
It's up to 1,500 is what for the
Sponsorship. No, what's the split?
fundraiser.
But yeah,
It's up to $3,000. The friends get 1,500 and the nonprofit gets the rest. And then anything above that, the nonprofit gets the rest.
And if it's less than 1,500, you get half.
Yeah, we split it.
Yeah, but the sponsorship's 12, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
All right, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Motion to adjourn. There we go. Second, all in favor of adjourning?
Yeah.